2017's Kong Skull Island has by far one of the most, I guess you could say, wants from the community. An island that is so beautiful but dangerous at the same time. And we saw some of the fauna from the 2017's movie. However, the new series has also explored the fauna a bit more now, and it actually makes you wonder, can any other creature other than from the Monsterverse or possibly even Jurassic Park, I'm gonna be real with y'all, not many Jurassic Park people, sorry, dinosaurs will survive here. And with the Skull Island Rise of Kong, this is going to expand the lore of the Monsterverse as a whole here. I'm definitely getting this. I don't know about y'all, but I'm gonna get this because here's the thing, right? There seems to be some level of saurians or dinosaur-like kaiju and a volcanic area on Skull Island now, meaning that not the fauna, what am I trying to say here? The environment is also a lot more flushed out. It's going to be a lot more flushed out as a whole here. But today we're gonna throw in creatures from a different franchise, a underrated franchise in my opinion. And in all honesty, I do think this game needs another shot or get updated again. And these are the monsters from Evolve here. Now, we're not going to use all three of them or all five of them, excuse me. Plus, I am going to make more Evolve fauna videos in the near future. So, look forward to that. However, today we're going to use Behemoth, one of the top two strongest monsters in the verse. And again, due to his lore and how he functions, he's going to be the one that actually enters Skull Island. Now, let's talk about his power level. The evolved monsters are easily planetary. This comes from the lore that they scale over the host and the Leviathans. And Behemoth is one of the few monsters that actually fought against and alongside the host and Leviathans for the battle factor and winded up destroying the planet. Behemoth has a plethora of abilities such as earth manipulation, where he's able to manipulate the environment and actually create barriers, earthquakes, and even is able to project lava out of his out of his mouth. He's able to spit lava. He also has an extending tongue, and he can roll at his opponents at a surprising speed to where he can just become a ball of doom. So yeah, Behemoth is an absolute tank, and he's one of the most heavily armored monsters as well, immune to the Hunter's weaponry, which are based off the year 2030, where they're able to use lightning, chemicals, and even slow down opponents. Like, they have energy restraints that actually slow down the kinetic energy of their opponents, or at least the monsters here. Behemoth is also very adaptive. Now, if you guys didn't know, this Evolve was supposed to have a volcanic, a desert, and an Arctic environment. We see a little bit every now and then in the game. I do believe it's in one of the polar regions, but again, we were supposed to have a full-blown Arctic environment for Evolve here, and I would have loved to actually have that. And again, Glacial Behemoth is a subspecies of Behemoth that has adapted to living in life in the Arctic. So again, you have a monster that came from the volcanic environment and is able to adapt in the Arctic environment of his planet, which would be far colder than our Arctic here. We'll also be applying the Monsterverse rule that the amount of resources a monster has allows him to grow exponentially. So we're going to be basically having Behemoth start off at stage 3, but he'll be growing to new heights here. So as long as you guys understand that, I think it's pretty simple and straightforward here. Now, where are we going to put Behemoth to start off at when it comes to Skull Island? I think that due to, Skull Island's fauna, rewatching the Skull Island animated series, which I suggest you guys do watch, I definitely give it a solid, I would say 8 out of 10. There's a couple things I would rather, fix in it here, but overall, I would definitely give it a solid 8 out of 10. You can maybe argue a 9 out of 10 for me, but again, it's a good series. But I would think we should start Behemoth at the beach. And I think it's very simple. Why? Now, I don't know how these two survived in the beginning of the movie. They should have been dead, because Skull Island actually has trapdoor crabs. Now, these trapdoor crabs are the inhabitants of the beach-like area. And again, like trapdoor spiders, it's pretty much how they operate. Like, it's pretty simple and straightforward. If you're able to run over them or you're anywhere near their burrows, they'll actually grab you, drag you down beneath the sands here, and they'll actually rip you apart and then eat you. Like, and it's a whole bunch of them too. So you'll be ripped apart from multiple angles and multiple pieces of you, and just eaten. Like, it's absolutely crazy. Now, you might ask, can Behemoth sense them? Yes. If you guys don't know, evolved monsters have a highly keen sense of smell, to the point where they can actually detect hidden enemies. All right, even enemies that are through, metal structures, or or through entire forces. They're able to map out entire state-like areas, right? So Behemoth would be able to not only sense these trapdoor crabs, but he would pick them off and begin to eat them. This would probably give Behemoth a little bit of armor growth here, because if you guys don't know, the evolved monsters will eat till they have at least a reasonable level of armor, and then they'll also eat till they actually get to a decent level to, well, again, evolve. Now, this was where I don't think it would give Behemoth too much nutrition to eat all the crabs, so he might move into the forest to actually find more creatures to eat. And again, Skull Island does have things like the dodo and the night boys, but overall here, I don't think they're going to provide much nutrition. Some of the smaller creatures in Evolve, like the Canyon Striders or the Thunderbirds, they really don't provide too much of a nutrition. They give them, like, I think the Thunderbird is like 2 or 3, in my opinion. I gotta play the game again. I still do play the game to this very day, but again, I don't really think I looked at the nutrition value as high. But I do know alpha creatures do provide much as well. Now, when it comes to the fauna of Skull Island, we also have, sorry, not fauna of Skull Island, fauna of Evolve, we have to talk about a couple things here. Now, the alpha creatures are pretty simple and straightforward. They provide the most nutrition and the most calories for the monsters to evolve here. Now, when it comes to fauna and fauna trying to hide here, I would have to counter with 2 creatures here. First off is the Steamodon, which is a creature, or at least one of the local wildlife of Evolve, that are able to secrete a mist that is so thick that the monster can't even see through it. So they have to rely on their other senses, and more or less, they do wind up still getting them because of their sense of smell. Next up, we have are the Dune Wolves. If you guys don't know, the Dune Wolves were the original, I wouldn't say the apex predators, but they were basically like the Reavers or the Night Boys of the desert. They were actually able to burrow beneath the sand and ambush their prey, or hide from a stage 3 monster, which again is not something permanent. They would have been the inhabitants of the desert region of Evolve here, which again should have come to the base game, but unfortunately it just never did. They only kept it to a few environments. And again, while I do believe some games I do think some games need to be cut, Evolve would have been the greatest game till this very day if they still used it. Now, we also know that there are volcanic creatures in the game as well, such as the Magma Charger, which is the original prey item for Behemoth. So again, these smaller creatures are nothing new. Plus, Behemoths have dealt with creatures such as the Juggernauts, who were the original apex predators of the desert, or the alpha creatures of that zone. Alpha creatures are considered to be on par, or at least threatening, to a stage 1 monster, meaning they have let's say I'll say a 30% chance of being able to kill the main monster. All right, they have a 30% chance of actually being able to kill and eat the main monster here. Not like the Reavers, but again, just a lot higher. They have a higher chance of killing a stage 1 monster, which is them in their weakest stage, by the way. So again, with these monsters and basing them off you could probably say they're based off, dinosaurs and stuff. Like here, the Crowbill Sloth was based off of Megatherium, which, by the way, is one of my few favorite megafaunas of all time. But again, needless to say here, they will still scale to the stage 1 monster, which is around large building level. All right? You might say, how do you get from large building to planetary? Because again, they increase themselves in power. And again, it takes a stage 3 to really perform these planetary feats here, as it was stated in the lore for Evolve that these guys were like fully grown monsters performing these feats here. So I don't really see how most of these creatures would fare against even a stage 3 behemoth, let alone a behemoth that's still evolving and growing due to the logic of the monsterverse. All right. So I think monsters like the skull crawler, the chameleons, the swamp locusts will actually be good sources of nutrition. Now, I do think the skull crawler would definitely be the best source. And the thing is, Behemoth may actually be subterranean because they do find Behemoth in the trailer in an underground whatchamacallit. It's an underground cave network is what I'm trying to say here. So Behemoth may actually be a subterranean creature for Skull Island, meaning he's picking off creatures possibly from below Skull Island as well. Anything that inhabits like caves and caverns, he would mainly eat. This would include the more adolescent skull crawlers who are subterranean creatures. Now again, even if he goes to the surface, again, there's not going to be many creatures that pretty much stop him here. Not even the Icarus Tiger with his illusions is going to be able to do much to him. Now, again, you might say that what about, his interactions with some of the higher up kaiju, right? Like the Mars Squid, Kong, and the Kraken. Now, I do think Kong and Behemoth would have to face each other eventually, as the resources for Skull Island would definitely start to dwindle, or Behemoth would probably leave Skull Island through an underground network. It's one of the 50-50 chances that you kind of have to take in consideration. Are you going to risk injury against a much larger or an equally sized kaiju, or are you going to risk injury against a kaiju that's more heavily armored and more heavily built than you? Because again, if Behemoth is able to grow to the sizes of Kong, and considering he's able to fight against things like this right here, like the Leviathan, and the previous image, which was the Glacial Serpent, again, was supposed to be in the original game, or at least into the base game. But again, I don't see Behemoth struggling in any form of way with being able to deal with a lot of these inhabitants here. Now you might say, okay, Legendary, how does Behemoth take down the Kraken? Now the Kraken can possibly do himself in as well. The reason why I'm saying that is because this creature was malevolent. It was very just vicious and evil to the point where it would reach its tentacles out over land just to grab somebody and throw them into the river, or throw them into the part of the sea that it inhabited, to basically eat them. So again, I don't think this is going to work on Behemoth, especially if he's growing. What I think is going to happen, though, is that Behemoth is going to get grabbed by a tentacle, and then he's going to Uno reverse it and pull the Kraken onto shore, just for the Kraken to get clobbered and eaten by him. Now, again, you might say Behemoth probably doesn't really, have a real counter for the Kraken's abilities. Well, again, I have to say you're wrong about that. Because, again, these hunters use weapons that are pretty similar, if not a lot more dangerous than modern-day weaponry, which the Monsterverse does use, to a degree here. The Oxygen Destroyer was the first stage of new weaponry, and Mechagodzilla as well was, again, the first stage of new weaponry. So who knows what the monster is going to have as a whole here. Now, again, like I said with Kong, I don't really know how that would go. I kind of favor Behemoth because of his overall versatility. Imagine him making like a rock plateau just to cut Kong off from getting to him. Plus, again, he is a lot faster. You can scale him to the weapons that use, lightning. Some of them use laser pulses. Like, there's so many ways you could scale the evolved monsters to at least lightning speed or relativistic. And overall, I kind of see Behemoth just going through the island not pretty easily, but again, like a regular animal. That's what they are. Yes, they're far more intelligent, and they're probably in the same intelligent range as Kong and Godzilla in the Monsterverse, possibly even a bit smarter, considering they know how to ambush, trap, and even understand reactor technology. But overall, I just see Behemoth being able to thrive on Skull Island. And even if you want to say, well, take out the kaiju like Kong, Camazotz, and Kong, Camazotz, and the Kraken, right? He would still have plenty to feed on. Even if, you take them out, he would still have a lot more to feed on if you really want to consider that as well. But hey, let me know what you guys think down below. Please comment, like, and subscribe, and share with your friends. This is Legendary Grimlock, and I hope you guys have a blessed day. Peace.